When the FIA announced that Red Bull Racing had breached the Formula One budget cap that had been put in place for the 2021 season, the big question on everyone's minds was what exactly would be the punishment that would be handed out to the side that narrowly won the World Drivers' Championship and just about missed out on the Constructors' Championship in 2021. What sort of a punishment would be seen as deterrent enough to actually ensure that future teams would not in any way try and breach the cap? Would Verstappen be stripped of his title, or would there be a points deduction that would actually see him lose out on the title retrospectively? These were the other things that most people had in mind, and whilst the actual story in the end has turned out to be something entirely different, that's exactly why we are here. I mean, we are going to be talking about what exactly is going to be the future of Red Bull when it comes to this particular breach of the budget cap and what it is that we can expect potentially going forward. Now, first off, it is worth noting that whilst there's been no official confirmation of the news yet, it has widely been reported that Red Bull have in fact accepted from the FIA's let's say that they have accepted that they will in fact be agreeing what is called an acceptance of the penalty. Let's say that they will in fact, they've admitted that they have breached the financial regulations put in place for 2021. Previously, the statement that they had put out said that, look, we're surprised and disappointed because the submission that we made is actually way below the budget cap. But however, it now turns out and has been reported that they accept that the accounting methods probably that were used were probably not right, and due to that they have accepted from the FIA that yes, we have breached the agreement, so they will be taking an accepted penalty agreement breach. So what does that mean? It means basically that the punishment which they'll have perhaps won't be quite as severe as most people, or at least some people, were hoping for. Now, it is worth noting that, as I said, the official announcement hasn't been made, and that is expected that it will be made before Friday practice at the Mexican Grand Prix begins. But it does actually signal a very interesting future for Red Bull when it comes to what exactly the punishment that is going to be imposed on them. The punishments that will be imposed on them are going to be both from a sporting perspective as well as financial. And again, it must be noted that none of this has officially been confirmed. This is just speculation or an understanding as to what exactly the penalties could be. If you're talking about the financial penalty, it is expected that that a certain amount of money will be docked from their future budget caps, and that means that they'll have less money to spend as compared to their rivals. From a sporting perspective, it is very possible that they will be getting less time for aerodynamic testing. Now, aerodynamic testing is something that generally speaking is decided on based on where you finish in the Constructors' Championship, and is done so in a reverse manner. So if you are a team that finishes first, like Red Bull have in this case, then you are already allotted less time in the F1 or in the FIA's wind tunnel. Now, if they are, of course, if that penalty is handed out, it means that they'll have even less time, and the FIA it reportedly sees this as a fair punishment given the level of transgression. And again, there is no confirmation of exactly how much they breached it by, but the number that's doing the rounds is about $1.8 million. Now, this means that there is, of course, going to be no changes to the results that were put in place or that already have been in place since the end of the 2021 season, which then, of course, brings us to the last point. Most people, and this is true especially of fans of Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, expected, or rather should I say demanded, that there be a change in the result because, of course, Red Bull had overspent to win the championship, and Mercedes had actually complied with the budget cap along with, of course, 8 other teams, and that they should Red Bull should be penalized in that regard so as to avoid a team actually breaching the budget cap in the future. That doesn't seem to be going to be the case, but it is also worth noting that despite fans expecting that to happen, there was no indication whatsoever that there would be an alteration of past results unless the breach was absolutely massive. Since this breach isn't the biggest breach in terms of the amount of money that has been, overspent, they're only being given a minor punishment, and in that regard, I think that's fair. So what is in fact going to happen is that, as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a reduction of the budget that they get for, the subsequent year. They'll face less aero time, and the punishment of points deductions will only be reserved most likely for far more severe cases. Now, this case, again, it is worth noting that none of this has in fact been confirmed as fact. A lot of these things are floating out there as speculation and source-based reporting. But assuming that's the case and assuming that these figures being put there are true, I'd say it's a fair enough punishment given that the number which has been breached isn't exactly high, so it doesn't seem like it was an intentional overspend on behalf of the team, and rather it was just a case of some mistakes taking place that cost them a little bit more money than it would have under normal circumstances. But enough about me. What do you guys think? Should there be a harsher penalty? Does the FIA need to improve their processes when it comes to policing the budget cap? And do you think the budget cap is viable in F1 to begin with? Or is something like this, a small punishment for an infringement, something that will likely actually make it more appealing for teams to potentially breach it even by small margins in the future? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course tap the bell icon so you know when we're going live or uploading a new video. Then you can go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and last but not least, download the Sports the Cap. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you all with us through the day, but for now, goodbye.